I've had a few jobs over the years that I probably shouldn't have taken, but there's one that still gives me the chills whenever I think about the camera footage. It wasn't even a particularly bad job, not at first anyway. I was 24 years old, living in a small city, and working a couple of part-time gigs to make ends meet. One of those gigs was driving for a rideshare company on the weekends and a few nights during the week. It was mostly for extra cash, you know? My main job was at a warehouse, loading and unloading trucks, which was steady but didn't pay much. Rideshare driving was good because I could set my own hours. I'd usually go out after my warehouse shift, maybe from 7 at night until 1 or 2 in the morning, especially on Fridays and Saturdays. The money was better then. The city I lived in, let's call it Fairview, wasn't huge, maybe 80,000 people. It had a pretty standard setup, a downtown area, some residential neighborhoods spreading out, and then a ring of suburban developments. Most of my pickups were from the bars downtown or from people going to or from the airport, which was a little out of town. Now, for these rideshare jobs, the company highly recommended, almost insisted, on having a cabin camera. It was for safety, they said, both for the driver and the passengers. I bought a pretty decent one off Amazon, a dual lens model that recorded both the road ahead and the interior of the car. It saved footage onto an SD card, looping over old stuff when it got full. I hardly ever actually looked at the footage, honestly. Maybe if there was a dispute with a passenger or something, but that only happened a couple of times. For the most part, it just sat there, recording. My car was just an old 4-door sedan, nothing fancy. It had a bit of a ding on the back bumper from parking lot mishap, and the A key was always a little weak, especially in the summer. But it got me from A to B, and it served its purpose for the rideshare. I kept it clean, always stocked with water bottles and phone chargers. I tried to be a good driver, get decent ratings. This started happening in the fall, maybe October or November, 2019. The nights were getting longer, and it was getting colder. I remember because I had just bought new tires, and I was feeling pretty good about not having to worry about ice yet. My routine was pretty set. Finish at the warehouse around 5, grab a quick dinner, and then hit the road by 7. The first time I noticed anything, it wasn't even because I was actively looking for it. I had a passenger dispute. Someone claimed I hadn't dropped them off at the right address, which was completely untrue. I told the company I had camera footage, and they asked me to send it over, so I pulled the SD card, put it in my laptop, and started going through the file from that particular night. While I was skipping through to find the right part, my eyes just sort of glazed over everything else. You know how it is when you're scrubbing through video, it's just a blur of images, but then I saw it, just a flash. It was night, I remember that, and I was going under one of the overpasses on Highway 9. For just a single frame, maybe a fraction of a second, there was someone in the back seat. I stopped the video, scrolled back, and played it frame by frame. It was definitely a man, sitting in the back right passenger seat. He was wearing dark clothes, maybe a dark jacket. His face was a little blurry, but he looked like he had dark hair. And then, in the next frame, he was gone. The back seat was empty. My car was empty. I remember thinking, what the heck was that? I rewound it again, watched it a few more times. Same thing every time. One frame, he's there. The next, he's not. I checked the timestamp. It was early in my shift, around 8 at night. I hadn't had a single passenger yet. My first pickup was about 15 minutes after that. I figured it must be some kind of glitch. The camera wasn't super high-end, even if it cost a decent amount. Maybe it was a reflection, or a trick of the light from something outside the car. The lighting under that overpass was always a little weird, patchy and dim. It was an old concrete bridge, lots of shadows. I didn't think much of it beyond that. I mean, it didn't seem important to the passenger dispute. I just clipped the relevant part for the company, and forgot about the strange frame. A few weeks went by, and I was driving even more often. The holidays were coming up, and I needed extra cash for gifts. I was out almost every night. Then, one Tuesday, I had another small issue. A passenger accidentally left their wallet in my car. They called the company, and the company called me. I found the wallet, but I wanted to check the footage to see where they might have dropped it. Maybe it fell out as they were getting out, or maybe they just put it down and forgot it. So, again, I was going through the footage. It was for a night a few days earlier, a Saturday. I was scrubbing through looking for this particular ride, and then it happened again. Same thing. I was going under a bridge, a different one this time, on the outskirts of town, and for a single frame there he was again, the man in the back seat, dark clothes, dark hair, blurry face, and then gone. Okay, now that was a bit weirder. 2 times, going under a bridge, a single frame. This time I actually got a little uncomfortable. I stopped and just stared at the screen for a bit. It wasn't the same bridge, and it wasn't the same time of night. This was closer to midnight. I had been driving for hours and had already had several passengers, but the car was empty when I went under that particular bridge. I was on my way to a pickup. I started trying to rationalize it again. Maybe it was a known glitch with this camera model, or maybe it was just a strange coincidence of lighting. You know, sometimes lights can do weird things. I even looked up phantom images in car cameras, didn't find much. Most of what came up was about security cameras, but the details were so specific. Always a man, always in the back right passenger seat, always dark clothes, always under a bridge. It just seemed a bit too specific for a random glitch. I chalked it up to my brain playing tricks on me and the camera being faulty. I mean, what else could it be? Ghosts weren't real. People didn't just appear and disappear from car footage. I didn't tell anyone about it. He didn't tell anyone about it. What was I going to say? Hey, my camera thinks there's a phantom passenger in my car. They'd think I was losing it, so I just kept it to myself. But it was in the back of my mind now. Every time I went under a bridge at night, I'd instinctively glance in the rear view mirror, even though I knew I wouldn't see anything. I mean, the camera saw it, not my eyes. A few more weeks went by, and Christmas was around the corner. I was driving even more, trying to make enough for presents. I had a really busy weekend. One night, I had just finished my last ride. It was probably 2 in the morning, and I was driving home. I remember it was raining hard, just a real downpour, and the wipers were going full blast. I went under the big interstate bridge, the one that separates the downtown area from the industrial park. As I drove under it for a split second, I had this weird feeling, like someone was watching me. When I got home, I was cold and tired. I just wanted to crash. But that feeling, that weird sense of being watched, stuck with me. So, despite being exhausted, I pulled out the SD card. I told myself I was just being paranoid, but I had to check. I had to know if it was a trick of the rain, or just my tired brain. I plugged the card into my laptop and started going through the footage from that night. I skipped to the end, to when I was heading home. My car was definitely empty. I had dropped off my last passenger about 10 minutes before. I found the part where I went under the interstate bridge. The rain was really coming down. You could barely see anything. I started playing it frame by frame. Sure enough, there he was, the same man, dark clothes, back right passenger seat, just a single frame. He was a bit clearer this time, or maybe I was just looking more closely. I could see his profile, sort of. His head was tilted slightly to the right, almost like he was looking out the window, or maybe at me. And then, gone. This time, I actually felt a chill. Not from the cold rain, but from the realization that this wasn't a glitch. 3 times now, different bridges, different times, different weather, always the same man, always in the back right seat, always for just one frame. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the screen, at that one single image of him. I tried to think of any logical explanation. Maybe it was a reflection from a billboard or a shop sign that always aligned just right when I passed under a bridge at night, but that seemed so far-fetched, and the reflection would have to be of a person, a specific person, sitting in my back seat. No, that didn't make sense. I thought about the fact that it was always under a bridge. What was special about bridges? Or was it the darkness under them? Was it some kind of trick involving the camera trying to adjust its exposure in low light? I spent an hour online researching camera phenomena, obscure glitches, anything. Nothing really fit. I still didn't tell anyone. It felt too weird, too unbelievable. I just kept driving. I needed the money. But every night when I went under a bridge, I found myself holding my breath a little. And when I got home, I started checking the footage after every shift. Not every single minute of footage, but I quickly scrubbed through the parts where I knew I passed under a bridge. And every time, without fail, If it was night, he was there, a single frame. Sometimes his head was straight, sometimes turned slightly. But it was always the same man. It became a weird kind of ritual. Drive the shift, come home, check the footage. He became a fixture in my late night drives, a silent spectator who only ever appeared in a frozen moment. I started to get a little obsessed. I'd try to anticipate which bridges he'd appear under. It wasn't every bridge, I realized. It seemed to be specific ones, the one on Highway 9, the one on the outskirts of town, the interstate bridge, and a couple of others on the main roads that crossed over the river. It was always concrete, always dark, always an overpass or a river bridge, never a small wooden bridge, never a light-filled tunnel. Just those specific dark concrete structures. I even started talking to him, in my head of course. Like, hey buddy, it's just me again, going under this bridge. Bet you'll be there, and he always was. It was unsettling, but also, in a strange way, it became a part of my routine. Like a weird, silent companion that only existed one frame at a time. I would sometimes even feel a twisted sense of relief when I saw him, because it meant that this strange thing was still predictable. It was still just a one-frame anomaly, a bizarre, unexplainable, but ultimately harmless occurrence. I didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. I'm a pretty down-to-earth person. I always think there's a logical explanation for everything. But this was really testing my logic. I couldn't come up with anything that made sense. Was it a prank? Someone messing with my camera? But how and why? Then the winter turned into spring. It was April 2020, I remember, because the pandemic was starting to hit hard and things were getting strange already. People weren't riding as much, but I still needed to work. It was a Thursday night. I was out a bit later than usual because I had waited for surge pricing. It was probably close to 3 in the morning. I had just dropped off a passenger at the very edge of town and I was heading back towards the city center. I had to pass under the old railroad bridge, the really long one, a solid concrete structure that went over the river and a 4-lane road. It was always super dark underneath it because the lights were always out. As I drove under it, doing about 40 miles an hour, I had that familiar, uncomfortable feeling. That little shiver down my spine that meant he was probably going to show up in the footage again. I didn't think much of it then because I was tired and frankly a bit stressed about the whole pandemic situation. I got home, parked the car, and went inside. I poured myself a glass of water and then, like I always did, I grabbed the SD card from the camera. I told myself I was just going to quickly check that one section where I drove under the railroad bridge, and then I'd go straight to bed. I sat down at my laptop, put in the card, and opened the video file. I sped through the footage until I got to the part where I was under the railroad bridge. I slowed it down, then went frame by frame. He was there, exactly where I expected him to be. Dark clothes, back right seat. But this time it was different. This time he wasn't just sitting there, looking out the window or straight ahead. This time he was leaning forward. His shoulders were hunched and his arm was reaching out. It looked like he was reaching for the driver's seat, reaching for me. My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen at that one frozen frame for what felt like an eternity. His hand was outstretched, not quite touching my shoulder, but almost there. The blurry face was still blurry, but the posture, the intent, it was unmistakable. He was reaching for me. I immediately slammed my laptop shut. I didn't even think about it. My heart was pounding, really thumping in my chest. I felt sick to my stomach. It wasn't just a glitch anymore. It wasn't a phantom reflection. It wasn't a trick of the light. This was something else. Someone was reaching for me. For a split second, a single frame that meant nothing by itself. A single frame that was probably meant to be unremarkable in a long string of mundane ones. But after months of this, after seeing him over and over, that one small shift in his pose, that one outstretched arm, changed everything. I didn't open my laptop again that night. I didn't sleep well at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that image. That dark figure, leaning forward, arm outstretched, in the back seat of my own car. I kept thinking, what would have happened if his hand had actually touched me? What if I had seen it with my own eyes, not just on the screen? And why now? Why after all this time did he actually reach? The next day, I called the rideshare company and told them I was taking a break for a while. I told them it was because of the pandemic, which was a good enough excuse at the time. I never went back to driving for them. I sold the car a month later, just got rid of it. I ended up getting a job with a delivery service, driving a company van. Didn't even bring the camera over. I still have it actually, packed away in a box somewhere. I haven't looked at the footage since that night. I never will. I never found out what he was, or why he only appeared in a single frame under bridges at night, and I never want to know. It's been years now, but sometimes, when I'm driving late at night and I go under an overpass, I still glance in my rearview mirror, just in case.